Oh yeah, we did one with Judy Whiting, an interview about a month ago, and lasted about 6 hours. So don't worry about. No, this will be short. Doesn't have to take very long. But she's a talker.
Judy's lucky to be alive, and we all are. Because I was showing them property in San Ynez. I showed them Hastings Harcourt's property.
Oh.
And as we were crossing the San Ynez River, my wheel came off, my right rear wheel. And I'm in a Lincoln Continental, and I watched my wheel soar through the air down into the middle of the San Ynez River. And I kept the car steady on the road. And Peter and Judy gave me great accolades for not losing control.
And ending up in the middle, you were going over like one of those little concrete
I was
things.
over the bridge, on the bridge going over San Ynez River.
It could have been a disaster.
Where the wheel came off.
Oh, it could have been a real disaster. Oh.
But they bought it, and we're happy there.
Well, so that's when they moved from the riding academy
Right.
to San Ynez.
Yeah.
And then they ended up moving up to Mendocino County.
Right.
Which seemed to work for quite a while until he passed away, and then she thought, I'm too isolated.
I never could understand why they went there anyway.
Oh yeah, very, very isolated. Do you mind if I take the questions back?
He was supposed to have copied it for us.
Oh, this is in my version, which is a little bit different. It's in bigger print to begin with, so I can see it without having to have my glasses. Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So you grew up in Boston.
Well, no. I was 10 years old when I was born in Boston. I was 10 years old when we moved to California. And my family founded a grocery chain in New England.
Oh.
And my father and his brothers didn't want to participate in that company. So one became a doctor, the other that went to Harvard University in business. He became an airline pilot, and my dad was a film director. So they scattered to the 3 winds, 4 winds. And in 1948, we moved to 1401 Bel Air Road.
Oh. Is that on the mountainside of Sunset? Is that on the uphill side of Sunset?
Yeah. Bel Air Road is the east gate to Bel Air.
Okay.
And we were up on top of the hill. You could see all the way to the ocean.
Wow.
Those were the days before smog.
Before smog, 1948?
Yeah.
And your dad was a film director when he came, as we started off in LA as a film, that's he got into the industry?
Yes. And so we lived there quite happily. I went to Harvard School in North Hollywood. And then when I was away at school in Colorado College in Colorado Springs, I got a note from, or a phone call from my parents that they had bought a place in Hope Ranch. And the reason they did, my uncle, who was the doctor, came out, stayed with my dad, and he went from La Jolla to Pebble Beach, looking at the perfect place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And they had already done that, my dad and my uncle, on both coasts of Florida. So my uncle decided that he liked Hope Ranch in Santa Barbara the best. So one of my first cousins went to Laguna. And my uncle bought a property on Via Obregata, 11 or 12 acres, that is now the Stevens property, the founder of Johnny Cat.
So he chose prime view up there.
And he had the late Frank Lloyd Wright design a house for that hill.
Junior? The father or the junior?
No.
The father.
Yes.
Design a house.
Yes, and I have the designs for it.
Was it built? It was not built though.
No.
Why?
John and Dorothy, who was John's first wife, John Stevens, and they were the founders of Johnny Cat, and they had one daughter, the only child of John Stevens, named Beatrice, and she died at age 36 of a rare blood disease. And then John married another lady, and they took over the house that John built with Dorothy.
But your uncle did build the house?
No.
He did not.
He did nothing. No, he bought the Park House on East Valley Road in Valley Club.
Oh my.
And then when his wife died of cancer, he moved to Palm Beach.
So the family were affluent when they came out from Boston because of the family business.
Correct.
And then your uncle moved here, and then your father and his wife decided to...
Well, my father and my mother came on one of the tours up here looking with a realtor.
Mm.
And he said to my uncle, because my uncle we were dumb, fat, and happy in Bel Air.
Yeah.
And we spent our summers back at Cape Cod.
Oh.
So they, the realtor took my mother, father, and uncle through 4212 Cresta here in the ranch. My mother said to my father, I have to have that house.
When was that house built? In the 30s?
No, it was built in 1948.
Oh, it was a new house when
And
we saw
we
it.
were the third owners. It's an adobe.
Right.
And it had a bastard Florida flat tile roof on it. It was a pitch roof, but flat tiles.
Which didn't weather very well, or didn't...
No, they didn't weather very well. And then the company business went upside down.
Okay.
And at that time, I was trying to sell the family company to Arden, or have them buy Arden Mayfair.
Oh, the dairy, a big dairy.
No,
Oh.
Mayfair Markets.
Oh.
And
okay.
Arden Farms, yes.
Okay.
But my cousin, who was president of our company, listed on the New York Stock Exchange, said no. And he bought Safeway's New York division from his golfing buddy McGowan. He was losing money,
Safeway was losing money?
their New York division.
Oh.
He palmed that off on my cousin, and it took the whole business down the tubes.
Oh, the family business and
Kaput.
Safeway New York all went
Well, it was losing money at the time he sold it to my cousin.
And you didn't do due diligence to really see that?
No, he was golfing. He was very affected.
Oh.
He used to go around with a gold cigarette holder, and
Oh, he was almost...
he was on the First National Bank of Boston and several big national companies.
So well connected and could have asked the right questions. And should have asked the right questions. Well, that was...
So
horrible.
shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. So then I had to, during that time, first of all, when I first came to Hope Ranch, you would get off the freeway and you'd have to cross the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
There was no overpass there.
Yeah.
And Kelly's Corner was the nearest grocery store down there. And that was before,
The Coomberg Shopping Center.
yeah.
And that was a dangerous crossing. I think there were some fatalities.
I believe there was at least one that I'd heard about. And then we always had our old patrol, our own Hope Ranch patrol, It was a guy named Baker. I remember he pulled me over for too loud of mufflers on my car.
So you were in college when your parents moved to Cresta, and you would come home during summer vacations and breaks, and this was new home then, Hollywood, and you'd done Harvard School. That was all over with.
That was all over with.
And then when you graduated, you came to Santa Barbara?
And then we bought another house. I was married with 2 children, and we bought 4161 Cresta.
How close is that? Just across the street from?
Diagonally, it's Judy Stapleman's.
Oh, and you lived there with your family.
We sold it to Judy.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that was years ago because I got a divorce.
Okay, then you needed to sell it. Okay, makes sense.
And by then my dad had passed away, and I already had inherited 4212 Cresta.
And your dad died very young.
Very young. He was 41.
And you were already married.
Yes.
So you married young.
Yeah, I did. I was in my 20s.
And your mother.
And I had 2 daughters.
You had 2 daughters. And
yes,
then,
one of them was killed in a summer camp accident. So I have 1 daughter, and she'll be the 3rd generation to own 4212 Cresta.
That is a great story. Your mother, sort of. I talked to my wife Natalie about Fran, and she goes, "Wow, she was just amazing." And you really
she was a feisty New Englander.
Irish New Englander.
No.
Oh, she was not Irish.
No, she was Scotch English.
Okay. But she got the Hope Ranch Riding and Trails group started.
She was one of the founding members of the Hope Ranch Riding and Trails Association. And my daughter's looking forward to being a member when she comes back.
Where does she live now?
She lives in Denver. She had a ranch of 40 acres. But when the law was changed to where you could do an ADU, she put a ranch for sale, and 3 people came and looked at it the first day, and one of them made an offer, full price, all cash. And she had bought her daughter, my granddaughter, another house in Denver. And my granddaughter and her husband and family had moved to Coeur d'Alene. So my daughter had an extra house. She just moved into that. And she'll bounce back and forth between Denver and Hope Ranch when I get the ADU done.
Ah, you're building an ADU, so it'll be really easy for her to come over and visit.
Right.
Or your granddaughter.
And then I've got certain health issues that she can help my wife look after.
Have you made a lot of alterations to the house, or is it pretty much the
totally
same?
Different.
Yeah.
When we bought it, it had cork floors in the adobe. Cork floors in an adobe house. Flat Bermuda white tiles, like you'd seen pink tiles in Bermuda or down in Florida. So I put 2-piece Spanish tiles on it. And I've always been interested in the Southwest ever since 1950 when my parents took me to the Grand Canyon, and interested in Indian culture. So I made the bastard house into a Mexican hacienda. I took all the beams and took the paint off, sandblasted it off, and they're all stained now, and put, as I said, the proper roof on it, and now it's a true Mexican hacienda.
Was it Cliff May House?
No. No.
It wasn't.
No. And the plans for the house were, the original set of plans were in a shed at the Hope Ranch office, and that shed burned down. And so for some of the houses here in the ranch, there are no original plans, mine being one of them,
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's frustrating.
which meant you had to hire somebody, an architect, and redraw everything, which I did.
And then, for if you do renovations, you have to have an original set of plans and then show how
Well,
you're
yes,
renovating it. And,
you need to, I had to have one person come through and make sure that the trusses were supported out.
even the engineering.
Yes. So I had that done. I'd been much better off economically nuking the house, starting from scratch.
Oh, but you grew up. You grew up in the house. You had sentimental connections to it.
Well, my mother had a life estate there. She was rather feisty, so I then redid the guest house, and she moved into that.
How many years did she outlive your father? Like 50, or?
Well, maybe my father died April 15th, 1960, and my mother died about 10 years ago.
So 50 plus years, that's extraordinary. Did you start collecting Western art? Is
Yes.
that in the 50s is that?
I did a lot of traveling to Arizona because that's where my ex-wife and children lived, and I was in a horrible custody battle
Oh,
for many years, and I used to stay at Jonathan Sedgwick's cabin in Oak Creek Canyon.
huh.
I'd drive from here to Tucson, and I couldn't see my my surviving daughter. Wasn't convenient.
Oh, and you'd be stuck there. So you'd wait it out.
No. She said, come back 2 months.
Oh no.
So I'd get in the car and drive to Flagstaff and Sedona. And I knew Jonathan Sedgwick from here. So I stayed in a stone cabin he had there.
Is that the same Sedgwick as the Sedgwick
Yes.
Ranch? And Edie's father?
Yes.
Ah, and he
He was
sounded
Edie's brother.
Edie's brother. Okay, Edie's father sounded like a real character. Is that the right word to use? I don't know what you would artistic, bohemian, playboy. I don't know. Yeah. So you moved across kitty corner across from your mother, and your father has passed away. Oh no, you sold 4161 and
No,
moved.
not till later. Rented it for a while and then sold it to Judy. But during that time period, I met Fess Parker walking through Hope Ranch,
Okay.
and he lived in an adobe up on Cuervo.
Oh.
So we got acquainted, and then we used to hike together. We used to water ski together. I used to play tennis with him. And when he came out on the boat, my rather diminutive height was really pretty funny to see compared to Fess Parker.
Yeah, a big guy.
I had a certain size water ski, and he had one that looked like a
like a longboard surfboard.
it did. So we'd go out and we'd ski, and there were 3 of us in those days that all had the same kind of boat, a 16-foot Tahiti, and which wasn't a sea-friendly boat for Santa Barbara, because Santa Barbara Channel gets really mean.
Oh, okay.
And our idea of exercise was once around the oil rigs on a single ski.
I mean, water skiing in the ocean just sounds hard to begin
It
with.
was wonderful. We had no fatalities with white sharks. They were not a protected species. And we used to go out and try and skeg the blue sharks that were sunning on the surface of the water in those days.
And you could just harpoon
No,
them?
you couldn't ever skeg them. They were too fast.
Oh.
But you'd get as close as you could.
But you thought about great whites when you're
Not at all. was not in our vocabulary in those days.
You have to be early morning. It'd have to be the glassiest conditions to water ski.
Well, that's ideal, but I had some friends down at Miramar, and I used to go down and pick them up off the beach, no matter what the weather was, even when it was raining. They were waterfront, and one of them was Jeff Crane, that's Giffen and Crane.
Oh yeah. The
Crane School.
Oh, I didn't know that Geoff Geoff Crane was associated with Crane School. It was
Yes.
his family.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell us about Fess a little bit. I knew him a little bit. He helped me out with a little film project I was doing. He did the narration, and he was just he seemed very warm. And
Everybody called him that dumb Texan. Well, he was about as dumb as, that was an understatement, an overstatement.
Oh, God.
Because his choice of property, location, I sold him the Harold Chase house. And
Yeah.
who was the founder of Hope Ranch.
Yeah.
And we were out water skiing one day. I said, "You see that house by the Miramar?" He said, "Yes." I said, "That's for sale." And he was living in Bel Air at that time. And he said, "I need a beach house."
Oh.
So we bought it.
On Miramar Beach, one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, at the same time that
two doors away from the Miramar.
if you hold, and it probably didn't cost much, and just rented it out for 40 years. Were they happy up at Las Terrazas? Was that a good
Yes.
fit for them?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because they had, how many kids do they have? 2, 3? Two.
Eli and Ashley. Ashley lives in Hope Ranch today. And she worked for President Reagan.
Ashley worked for President Reagan?
Yeah. She was, I think, in charge of his travel.
Well, she must have been very young.
She was. She's a very bright girl.
That is so interesting. And now she's and her husband are involved with the vineyard.
You're right. They took over the vineyard after Fess died.
Why did the Parkers move so much?
Well, they were always buying and selling. I think I sold them 9 houses over the years. I sold them a house on Mariposa, and they were in that for a while. And then they were in a house over near yours, and they just get itchy feet and buy and sell.
And then the Cresciente house, was that?
I sold that to them, and it fell down the hill.
They were pretty far along in their construction, weren't they?
No. We had we said, "Don't close escrow till all your studies are in." And Fess, being as impetuous as he was, started work on the house without, I think it was before it had closed.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. And I was told there was some pipe leaking, and that allowed the house to migrate to the ocean.
And was that a fairly crushing blow to them when that happened?
Well, it was pretty upsetting, but fortunately the other realtor and I had a copy of a letter we sent to Fess saying, "Do not close on this until you've done all your studies."
Oh, and he had disregarded that.
Fess was Fess. He just...
Did he hold that against you?
Oh, no. I sold him properties after.
Oh, good. So you still friends.
No. We never lost our friendship.
Oh, good.
About anything.
Okay, so let's get into this. We're okay. The incorporation thing. There were 2 attempts, right? In the 50s, late 50s, and then the early 60s?
Yeah, in the early 50s, my dad was involved in that, somewhat, in that he voted for it. But the second attempt, it was the committee to incorporate Hope Ranch, and Fess was very much involved with that. as was I, as was a doctor down on Las Palmas.
Hawkins?
Yeah,
Hawkins.
Paul Hawkins.
Yeah.
And the large landowners voted us down because they didn't want to be told how they could develop their properties. So Spalding, Bryce, and Chase all voted against the incorporation. Those were the big landowners.
Because they felt if it was a city with a mayor and a city council, there'd be more restrictions than the county, under the county?
Yes. And so they voted as a block to defeat the incorporation. Now, coming out of that, Harold Chase sold the balance of his properties to a gentleman named Howard Vesey, Hope Ranch Realty Investment Company. And he had proposed doing condos where the tennis courts are at La Cumbra.
Oh.
And we used that same incorporation of Hope Ranch group to defeat the condos, or there would be condos where the tennis courts are instead of the tennis courts at La Cumbra Club.
I didn't realize that. So you met Harold Chase. He was alive when
Yes.
you were here. What was he like?
Very proper gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
very nice. And I guess you know the story about his wife's background with Burroughs Corporation.
Yes, and I think I've sort of put it two and two together. You can answer this, but it just didn't make sense that he was able to build this huge mansion. He was only in his 40s, and he was a realtor. How was he building this huge mansion, putting together this syndicate? But then I realized it was his wife's money, right? That allowed them to do it.
Well, he was successful, but the degree of which I'm not familiar with. Although one of the interesting things is I tried to get Fess Parker to buy what became it was the Dickinson property when Mrs. Dickinson died, and that was a beautiful property. He almost bought it, and the current owners are just lovely. They've restored it nicely.
Oh, did it? It sold to Barney Klinger instead.
Yes, and then to another chap that walked out on his wife, and it was in a lawsuit for a while.
Yeah. So going back to Fess, he was sort of the main driver of this early 1960s incorporation.
Yes, and Bill Moore, who used to live on Estrella, he was against incorporation. So to me, he was a persona non grata.
Was it a pretty emotional battle between two sides, sort of fractious?
It was fractious. Yes.
And it was such a close vote. It came down to like 8 votes or something.
I don't remember that. I guess that's so distasteful to me that I don't want to remember it.
It came down to 8 votes, I think. I was looking at newspaper articles of it. Do you think Hope Ranch would be better off if it worked?
Hope Ranch, if that had happened, Las Palmas would have been closed to the public, and Marina Drive, and it would have been made into a 17-mile drive if you've been through that in Pebble Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And that generates huge funds for Pebble Beach, and it's worked beautifully. So we would not have the issues of transients going through and then siphoning off and maybe walking into somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that were going through would be tracked through a gate.
Right. Yeah.
And if they're, as now, they are not tracked. And they're doing that huge bicycle freeway on Modon which will be running right in front of Hope Ranch.
Yeah.
They're doing 2,000 units of apartments in La Cumbre Plaza. That's the total build out.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 parcels.
Yeah.
People say, well, it's only 500 or 700 apartment units. No. When I came here first, there were cows where Sears is,
Oh, you remember the dairy farm?
grazing on the dairy farm.
I've heard stories about that. And
So-
yeah, I remember Judy Whiting said they would bring the cows over to, during the period when the Cumbre Country Club was closed during the war,
Right.
up until 57. They brought the cows, trucked them across, and grazed them on the hill, the old golf course, La Cumbre. So you remember when La Cumbre reopened in the 50s?
Yes. My uncle that had the Frank Lloyd Wright House designed was thinking about renting that while he built the Frank Lloyd Wright House. And he instead bought on Picacho a temporary house, sold that to John Butts at Butts Buick Mercedes, and then bought the Willamette. No, she wasn't a Day. She was Parks of Superior Oil Day.
He just got such a good offer from the Stevens that he decided he wouldn't go to the trouble of building his own house.
No, he just figured Hope Ranch wasn't his place. And the house was an oval with like a heart-shaped garage, a pool that would be today, if you do it today, it would be a infinity pool overlooking the Pacific Ocean on one side, and then you had unlimited mountain view on the other side. So right now the property's for sale with a house on it, but it's a nondescript type of house. It's for sale for $66 million.
It sounds like it's wildly overpriced considering the house is not that special. Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what finally happens to it.
Okay. Good. Here's a broad question, but how has the real estate market changed in Hope Ranch compared to when you started in the 50s to today? Obviously, prices are highly inflated from then.
Well, it's just been a flagrant uptick, but I can just say if you look at where inflation is, and you can't write unlimited checks for the government and not expect inflation. So a house across the street from me just sold, and it's been written in all the papers for $18 million for.
Oh, I had read about that one, and that was across the street from me.
Yeah, the former Aiken's house.
You know what I heard about that is that they couldn't get insurance, and so they're self-insured.
Well, I would believe that because my next door neighbor on my side of the street insures with State Farm, and they canceled him.
So what is that going to do to the local real estate market if people, if you just get that Cal Fair Plan, which only goes up to $2 million maximum,
and they're out of money, and they're going to, what they're doing is nicking the insurance companies, forcing them under the law of the state of California to chip in. So we're all paying for it anyway. It's very deceptive.
So this insurance crunch could be devastating to the realty market.
No.
You don't think it will be?
No.
Oh.
No, not for the... Where are you going to live? I had a lady come up from a very wealthy family in Newport. You've all heard of their name, and she made a unsolicited offer on my house. So my wife and I went and looked around and go, where do we live? We get a lot of money, pay a lot of tax, and live under a freeway overpass, looking at our money.
Or move to Arizona or something, and you don't want to
We
do
have
that.
a condo in Phoenix. So.
Oh.
And we can't, no, you can't live there in the summer.
No.
And we've got income property over there. So
So you've been involved with some of the great houses in Hope Ranch. A lot of them.
Well, the ranch that the 24 acres next to the Hope Ranch Beach.
The Macaw place
I sold that for the Bushkins.
Ah, you sold it for the Bushkins. Who did that go to then?
Well,
Oh, you can't say even now.
no.
Secrecy Act.
No, but I'll tell you who I did have call, and I'm having a blank on the car. He was vice president of General Motors, and he had that aluminum car.
Oh, not DeLorean. No.
Yes.
DeLorean.
Oh, this is John DeLorean, and he called me about the Bushkin place when it was the Foley place.
Ah.
And he flaked out, but I about dropped the phone. I don't remember who sent him to me.
He was sort of a flash in the pan, wasn't he? He didn't really. Did you
know he was brilliant for General Motors.
I didn't even know he was I thought he was just an entrepreneur who tried to create a car.
He was vice president.
Okay. Did you know the Foleys?
Yes.
What were they like?
Rather reserved, very nice, and they raised cattle.
Which seems, it's hard for me to imagine those polled Herefords. They have a bunch of them roaming the hills there.
They did. It was interesting to see. So what you're referring to is the amount of change in Hope Ranch has been huge.
Yet the big estates are still intact, largely.
Somewhat.
Did you ever know the Bryces?
Oh, very well. Sylvie Roop was a good friend of mine because our daughters took riding lessons from Judy.
Oh.
And so I used to come up with my speedboat and take them for boat rides. Sylvie, Angelica Bryce's granddaughter, and my daughter, and then I'd anchor the speedboat off the beach house.
Oh.
And Angelica Bryce would send lunch down
the
Funicula.
Oh.
And we'd eat it on the beach cottage. And then I'd take the kids out in the boat. And at that time, there was also a Hope Ranch float every summer out in front of the ranch.
Yeah.
And that's been discontinued at this time, probably for liability reasons.
Did you ever go up that funicular to the house?
I never did. Never did.
Did you ever see the house when they were living in it?
Yeah, it was very rundown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So after Mr. Bryce died, she didn't keep it up well, or was it run down even when he was around? Ooh. So the Chases, the Bryces, the Foleys. Did you ever know Ben Meyer, who owned the house before Foley?
No.
How about Mr. Wack, the Wax?
Wack. I had met him in Montecito, but no, but I knew Ann Spaulding.
So the Spauldings bought it from the Wax?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now, she took the second story off that house.
I've heard sort of. So now it's only a one-story
Correct.
house. Was a good.
She was in a fire as a child, and it stayed with her, so she took the top story off. She was the niece of the late Major Max Fleischman, Yeast and Gin.
She was a niece of Max Fleischman. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fascinating story. She had a phobia about being trapped in a fire. And
that's what I heard. I'd see Ann down at the beach when we had the palapas. She'd be down there all the time.
Yeah, so do you remember? Okay, we'll go down to the beach now. So do you remember all the cabanas? And
No. Those were pre-me.
Oh,
before my time.
You missed the restaurant down there.
I did. Yeah, in the changing rooms.
It looked like
that were on the cliff.
Yeah. That looked like in the 30s and 40s. That looked pretty special.
No, I didn't get here till really we closed escrow in November 1956. So
okay.
I really wasn't here till 57.
What was the atmosphere? We're almost done. Maybe was the atmosphere in the 50s and 60s more casual, quieter than it was now? There weren't as many houses.
Well, absolutely, and there wasn't an internet, so you didn't have instant gratification and you didn't have instant rioting.
But this amount of traffic in the ranch must have been less.
Nothing.
Back then.
Nothing. But it was a shame that we didn't get to close off Hope Ranch on Las Palmas and Marina.
But a question about that. So I remember Harold Chase deeded that to the county in the 20s when he was creating the community. It sounded like they didn't have the money to pave it.
They weren't. I had heard that it was for economic reasons.
But once the county has it, why do you think they would have given it back to Hope Ranch?
Well, we had the chance because it's elitist.
Yeah, that's why they wouldn't do it, right? They would say
correct.
that would be.
But we had one chance under LAFCO to incorporate. Now it'd be impossible to incorporate.
Okay.
So we had our chances.
Yeah. Right. Do you have any questions? Have you any?
Let me make sure I covered what I needed to cover. Where I wrote my notes. My first sale in Hope Ranch, interestingly enough, was to a chap named Helmut Zoike. And I asked Ron if he'd ever heard of him. Zoike was an associate of Werner von Braun, who developed the V2 rocket in Germany.
Yeah.
And he was one of the group of German scientists brought to the United States and worked where?
Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama.
At Huntsville, Alabama. And when he and his wife retired, then they bought a vacant lot in Hope Ranch over near the golf club and built a house there.
And that was your first sale?
That was my first sale in Hope Ranch. And Werner von Braun, during one of his public comments when he was here in the U.S., it was that natural gas is the least polluting of the petroleum products and that we should look toward that. And that was pre-doing windmills and things that have their own issues of like the disposition of nuclear waste.
Yeah.
What do you do with the parts for a windmill? Apparently they don't biodegrade.
Those huge blades, no.
So he was very prophetic in his comments, and it was interesting to talk to him.
Really interesting. Yeah, but did most of your career focus on Hope Ranch, or did you sell in Montana too?
No, I sold. A blank. Who was the actor in San Ysidro Ranch that owned it?
An actor? Oh, Ronald Coleman?
Yes. I sold the old Ronald Coleman property twice over there next to San Ysidro Ranch, among other properties.
Yeah.
I think he might have owned the Harbor Restaurant too. The original Harbor Restaurant.
Out on the pier.
No, that was George Castanola.
Oh, so I thought Robert Coleman was involved in that.
No, that's a different Coleman. George Castanola, speaking of whom, he was a wonderful man, when we used to water ski down there,
Hmm.
we ski right by the pier. And you can't do that anymore. And the harbor association doesn't let you go anywhere near it. But we'd be down there skiing in the morning because it was flat. And George Casanova would be down checking his property and give a big wave.
And is Ginny Hunter, was that his daughter? That's his daughter.
Yeah, Ginny Casanova Hunter.
And she's, she's my mother's, a good friend of my mother's, sort of a contemporary of hers.
You're kidding.
No, in Montecito. No, they've known each other for years.
Well, she was a dear friend.
Yeah, she's still alive, I believe. And
That's what I believe.
And what a courageous soul. I mean, traveled the world by herself and just...
She's a lovable character.
Yeah.
I enjoy her.
Yeah. Gosh, anything else you can think of? Did your daughter go to Laguna Blanca school?
My deceased daughter did, and the expansion of Laguna, I looked at that and their conditional use permit. In the conditional use permit, when they held the CUP hearings on it, they were totally erroneous because they said it wasn't a drive-to place, and that's not true. When my daughter was there, which was in kindergarten, that lower school has all moved to the Howard School in Montecito.
Yes.
So therefore, Laguna Blanca and Hope Ranch is now only really a drive-to school, and that's what has impacted Las Palmas at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know, I've lived here 40 years and I don't remember the 3 o'clock backlog.
Exactly.
I don't know why. It's only like in the past 2 years.
You're right. And they just got the right to add 50 more students to their conditional use permit. And it was, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer or a zoning person, but in my opinion, it was inaccurate. And it really causes angst if people have a medical emergency and they need to get to Cottage in a hurry. How are they going to get through?
There's a half-hour spot that you'd have to go out the Goleta way.
I've waited as long as 20 minutes there.
Yeah, I know that from 2:45 to probably 3:15, I'm going to go out the back way towards Hollister. I'm not going to even try.
Well, you can also zip up the hill through La Cumbre Club. They hate it. I've been a member of La Cumbre Club for 46 years.
Oh, you can. Yeah, they all post the signs. No, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, but
right.
You could.
Right.
Yeah, Cresta. I'm thinking of Cuervo. Cuervo goes up to the very top.
And dead ends. But that's not open. We don't want it open because that opens to the city of Santa Barbara.
Okay, but a walker can is there a gate that a walker can go over to Campanile Hill? Yeah.
So I think we've covered almost all the questions. You've done a brilliant job. It's
well,
amazing.
thank you. I mean, it's got to be fun.
There's one more that we didn't mention. And that is, do you remember Orrin Sexton?
Very well.
And so maybe you could talk us a little bit about your memory of the Hope Ranch managers.
Well, let's just take O.D. Sexton. He was just down to earth, plain spoken, and what you saw was what you got, and there was no pomposity that I've seen with other subsequent managers. He was salt of the earth guy, and heaven help us that we get back to that type of Hope Ranch Homes Association again.
Okay, well, I think that pretty well finishes.
But a question about the lemon orchards. I keep on seeing all these maps of hundreds of acres of lemons. Do you remember when there were a lot of lemon orchards here when you first moved?
See, that's why I don't let me go off without this.
Yeah.
Okay.
have one more question here too.
Well, go ahead while I'm scrolling.
And so you had horses, Arabians, up at your house?
No,
Oh,
no.
your mom didn't have horses up there?
Yes, oh yes. And then we had two of Fess's boarders
Oh, okay.
for years.
Okay, here's a question, and somebody's going to answer it in the next year. I keep on hearing that in the 1980s, some California law changed, and all these backyard horses pretty much disappeared from the ranch. Do you remember anything
No.
about that?
No,
I'm going to figure out what law that was.
no, I don't know that. Okay. Shoot. I just got it and then I lost it. Okay. You see that this is abrogata.
Yeah,
Dead ending into what's the Stevens property.
Yeah.
But you see, according to this map, it's 11.104 acres, and you see the name of the owner?
The lot. Oh, you owned that property?
No, that was my uncle, Dr. O'Keefe.
Dr. Okay. Oh.
And that's now Betty Stevens' daughter's property.
Yes.
But that was just, I ran into that while I was looking for what I needed to show you.
You happen to have, my off-camera question is, do you happen to have some fun old photo albums that show the ranch in the 50s
Yeah, that's what
and
I'm
60s?
going for.
Oh, okay.
But this guy's got to take it off and copy it,
Oh, okay.
if you know him.
He's Mr. Computer, so he can do anything.
That's what I'm counting on. Oh. That's the Frank Lloyd Wright
Oh,
house
my
for that lot.
Oh.
It's over by you.
Oh. That would have been a showcase piece in Hope Ranch, wouldn't it? But
Oh, you couldn't figure out a price for what that would be worth on that site.
no. That would be a house that would justify the $60 million price tag.
That's the mountain side of it.
Okay. Oh, it is very bold. Oh, I'd love to get some.
No, I can't give that away. I would actually nuke my house, and it would fit on my site.
Oh, the same plans.
The same, basically,
Yeah. How many acres do you have?
2.77,
Yeah. And it's all buildable, isn't it? Your
Yeah.
whole property.
pretty much.
Are you the top? Are you the highest elevation on Cresta?
Yeah, there's nobody higher on Cresta.
So you have ocean and mountain views?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So in terms of noteworthy houses on Cresta, towards the end, where Angel now lives, there was a Neutra house.
Yeah, that was torn down.
It was unfortunately
Torn down.
No, it was a nothing Neutra house.
Oh.
Okay.
It was ugly.
Oh, interesting.
Come on, Keith.
Did you know Mrs. Schmoley?
Very well. Harriet?
Okay.
I sold her, well, I didn't sell her anything. She's one of my mother's closest friends. Yeah. We've had a lot of dinners there, and like Dimkoff, I could have sold Cresta because I owned it then, 4212, and I could have bought Harriet's house.
Mrs. Schmoley's, they didn't have any children? Or did they have?
She left it to her nephews.
Well,
Mrs. Kroger.
The Kroger, we knew the Krogers well. Our family were very close in West LA,
Yeah.
and built the Mr. Kroger. Remember, we had just finished.
That was the Bank of Montana.
Oh, I didn't know their family
Yeah.
history. The Bank of Montana.
Yeah.
Well, we had just finished building our house in Esperanza, you know, and it put every dollar we had into it. And Mr. Kroger said, my aunt's died, and this property is available, and if you're interested, it's like $2 million or $2.5 million. And
went for 2.7.
we could have bought it off market, and we would have had to have sold our place, but of course it would have been a great investment. We just weren't ready to do it.
Well, I would have had to strain because I was just coming back from losing the family company.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, but you have views that equal that house. You might have better
No.
views than no. Oh,
But the Crystals are dear friends of mine,
and they've done a great job on that house, haven't they?
and well, they're just characters. Okay, that's 1957.
Okay. Oh, it's an aerial color slide. Now, how did you get this?
My dad's stuff. He flew it.
Oh, I would love to get some copies of some of these. I've got a lot of
Send it
great.
to you.
Well, Mr. Will. Okay.
Ronald send it to you right now off the phone.
Oh, is that your house right there?
Yep. Remember I said the roof was white Bermuda?
I didn't know you were so close to the reservoir.
Yep. And that's our big fire danger because see the big oaks going all the way down to Las Palmas
Oh,
opposite
yeah.
the Hill Branch Riding Club? That lights off and we've got problems.
Well, it'll come up that hill fast.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
And the freaking power company has trimmed trees around the power poles and just left the stuff on the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with all the liability crap
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're going through?
Yeah.
How stupid are these people? At some point, they got to bury these things because they can't keep on affording these multi-billion-dollar
And
settlements.
they never call you back either because I've got to increase 100 amps service for the ADU.
But look at the orchards that are around you.
Yeah.
Well, those
Well,
lemons,
that's what you wanted to see.
were they
That's
lemons or
1950s.
avocados? Do you think?
Both. Those are avocados in those pictures, I think. But you see, that was probably 1957 because we had just built the stable.
Wow. Do you have any other aerial shots? Or?
No, I wish I did. I'd give them to you, but I don't have anything other than those. That's why I put them on that because if I'm talking to people like you and they go, "What was it like?"
Well, I've got so much stuff now. And I want to write down your email address because I'll send you a bunch of stuff. I've got a lot of
I'll get it too.
okay. I've got a lot of straight down aerial shots from the 20s onwards. I've got some of these oblique shots from low angle planes. I don't have any color. I've never seen any color. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was done with my dad's Leica.
Oh, he was the one in the plane and he took
Yeah.
that picture.
Yeah, one of my uncles, and that's Judy Stapleman's house.
Oh, okay, that existed. That was there.
Yeah. When I had it, it was single story. Judy added it was single story. She added the second story in the pool.
I think we're kind of getting down to the minutiae at this point.
Well, thank you. That is really... Yeah, I've got a bunch of maps. I've got old maps, old photographs. I'll send them all to...
But that was brilliant, Paul. I think you deserve a Hope Ranch Academy Award.
Oh, dear.
You look at the camera and say
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
one more look at the camera and wave goodbye, Paul.